Hey, greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mir, search for Huru. Guys, sorry about the delay. Sometimes I have issues with my webcam, but I think I have figured it out finally what the issue is. Again, I think I have finally figured out what the issue is. So thank God I figured it out. So sorry about the delay. Guys, make sure you like, make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go to dynastymir.com. Also, make sure you go to Donfo. Again, make sure you go to Donfo, DANFO dot Africa. Again, go to Donfo, DANFO dot Africa. Tour Sierra Leone, Nigeria. So we are rolling to Sierra Leone next month, April 17th through the 30th. Sorry, April 17th to the 30th. So if you're interested in rolling to Sierra Leone, please give me a holla. Give me a holla. Go to hello at donfo.africa. Again, visit hello at donfo.africa. That's where you'll find all the details. And also Nigeria, August 11th through the 20th for the Oshun Festival, Oshun Oshogbo Festival. So come and visit us and roll with us to Oshogbo. And we're going to spend some time in Lagos as well. We're going to spend some time in Victoria Island because the people on the past tours have said, Dynus, we want to go to Victoria Island. We want to spend some time on the island, Ikoyi. You know, I said, okay, no problem. So that's what we're going to do this trip as well. So again, go to donfo.africa. Click on travel, click on Nigeria, view the other itineraries. Also, Senegal, Ghana, Benin Republic, Zanzibar, Namibia, South Africa are coming soon. I did say Senegal. I think I'm missing a country. Of course, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. You know, if you're interested in traveling to these countries, please hit me up. I have people on the ground. You know, we're expanding throughout Africa as far as with the tour company. Me personally, I'll probably be doing 3 to 4 tours a year. Again, I will be doing 3 to 4 tours a year, me personally, but I don't need to be there. I have guides on the ground that can take you around and show you a good time. So take a look at our itineraries. If you want something more bespoke, hit me up, let me know. But guys, we appreciate you and we love you. I love all of you out there. I love you all. I love you all. So again, hit that like button. In about 20 minutes, I'll put the link in the chat room for you guys to call in. And we could expand on the conversation. Me and Kala will be going live tonight. Hold on, give me 1 second. About 7:30. So if you're interested in joining us tonight, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. If you're interested in joining us tonight, 7:30, adding to the conversation, you know, join us. We're going to have a good time. Guys, I have some great news for all of my travelers, all my people who travel to Niger, who fly into Murtala Muhammad Airport. Guess what? Guess what, everyone? Again, I want you to guess. Like I really want you to guess. Like just guess.
Has more on the story.
This is the second visit of President Buhari to Lagos this year. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his Yobe State counterparts, Mai Mala Buni, and Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika were among dignitaries in attendance. According to the president, the facility was built on a landmass of about 56,000 square meters with 66 check-in counters with capacity to process 14 million passengers annually.
It's an eloquent testimony to the strong commitment of our administration to the development of world-class infrastructure across all sectors of the Nigerian economy. Our continuous investment in the building of long-lasting infrastructure in the aviation, road and rail transportation, agriculture, telecommunications, and other critical sectors is yielding massive results, and the people of Nigeria are now increasingly attesting to benefiting from the associated dividends.
The long-awaited facility is expected to create an avenue for Old International Terminal to be overhauled. Some lawmakers and concessionaires at the airport describe the project as capable of transforming socio-economic fortunes of the country.
I also want to thank FAN for the wonderful opportunity given to concessionaires like us, Sula, and some other concessionaires. It's going to create an enabling environment for businesses like us to thrive.
This airport is commendable. I mean, the terminal is commendable. That we need to open more frontiers, more cities, to Nigeria. So both the population will be increasing, more airlines will be coming up.
Built at a cost of $100 billion, the terminal project is coming 8 years behind schedule. While every new thing like this terminal brings joy, how effective the maintenance culture here is will determine for how long the joy will last. To many Nigerians, the high airfare occasioned by scarcity of aviation fuel requires urgent attention. Abiola Sholanke, TVC News, Lagos.
Everyone, the new terminal, finally, you guys, the new terminal has been commissioned. So when I fly to Niger in May from Sierra Leone, I will be flying into the new terminal. Thank God. Thank God I will be flying into the new terminal. Thank God. Listen, did it say $100 million? Yeah, I mean, we need this new terminal. We need this new terminal. Thank you. We need it. So thank God I cannot wait to step foot into this new terminal, because the old terminal was just, quite frankly, it was embarrassing. The old terminal was embarrassing. It was terrible. It was just terrible. Oh man, it was terrible. So, anyways, guys, that's the good news. We're going to be flying into the new terminal, and it may not begin operation until a few months from now, though. Well, I'll be flying into, let's see here. I'll be arriving into Murtala Muhammad Airport May 4th? No. I'm sorry. May 1st. May 1st. I'll leave Freetown on May 1st, and I'll arrive into Lagos. Yeah, but no, it should be up and running soon. Yeah, they need to demolition the old terminal. They just put a match to it, and that needs to go. And it should be so irritating, because every time I would arrive to Lagos, you arrive into this old, outdated terminal, and you just pass this new, beautiful terminal that wasn't open for operation, and it used to be just so annoying. Golly, it used to be so annoying. But guess what? It is open, and it is ready, and it is running here shortly. So a round of applause for that. Also, too, I did not know. I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue about this. I had absolutely no clue about this, guys. Nigeria is manufacturing armored tanks, military tanks. I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue that Nigeria manufactures armored vehicles. In Belarus, they're buying them up. Belarus is buying them up. So I'm excited about that. That's something to Proforce, a Nigerian auto company that produces armored vehicles. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. Let's read the article. Let's jump into it. Let's see here. A lot of infrastructure development for multiple West African countries the past couple of years. About time, and we needed it. Belarus probably purchased armored vehicles from Nigerian company Proforce. Okay, so I might get one just to ride around the city. According to Otto Josh, Belarus might have purchased armored vehicles from Nigerian-based defense company Proforce, which has already had orders from the Nigerian government, the United Nations, and some African countries. Wow. Proforce Ltd is a producer of wheeled, armored, and MRAP vehicles based in Nigeria. Proforce, a specialized manufacturer of armored vehicles based in Nigeria, has reportedly signed a contract with Belarus for the delivery of defense pieces of equipment, probably armored vehicles. With the Proforce deal stamped, Belarus is set to become the first country in Europe to acquire defense products from Nigeria. Defense Nigeria tweeted. Details of the contract have not been revealed by either Proforce Ltd, the Nigerian or Belarusian governments. Proforce Limited is a defense solution provider specialized in the manufacturing of armored personnel carriers, mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, armored patrol boats, ballistic helmets and vests, and armored civilian vehicles. The Nigerian Army, through its investment arm, Nigerian Army Welfare Limited, by guarantee, acquired 15% shareholding of Proforce Ltd. Proforce is ISO 9001-2015 certified and has developed a large portfolio of products for the police, military, and civilian markets. So listen, if you want to get a bulletproof car made, bulletproof car made, hey Sharon. Yeah, the new terminal should be up and running here shortly. But if you want to get a bulletproof car made, get it cracking. Reach out to Proforce. Nah, we're not gonna get stationed. Yeah, give me a G-Wagon, turn into a bulletproof vehicle. Again, if you want to get a bulletproof car made, reach out to Proforce, everyone. And then, guys, I have some news that I quite frankly, I don't understand. Yeah, I don't get this. I don't get this. It's like Nigeria, we take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back sometimes. This right here, I don't get. Like I don't get this part right here. Here we go. Yeah, I don't get this right here. Like this part right here, I don't get. I agree. They should reverse engineer the weapons and make their own military manufacturing company. I agree. He said, no, it's not innocent. Well, I think the governor in Anambra, I know he drives an innocent vehicle, and I want to say it was outfitted and is bulletproof. Maybe by Proforce. I could be wrong. I think so. but I think it's been Pro Force is in Ogun State. I thought it was in Lagos. Okay. We're in Ogun State. Abeokuta. Senate amends Money Laundering Act, banks to report deposits to EFCC. I don't get this. The Senate on Wednesday passed a bill to amend the Money Laundering Act of 2011, which makes it mandatory for deposit money banks and other financial institutions to report to the Special Control Unit against money laundering under the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission any single transaction or lodgements in excess of 5 million naira for an individual and 10 million naira in the case of a corporate body. The passage of the Money Laundering Act Bill 2022 followed the consideration and adoption of the report by the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes on the bill. Section 11.3 of the new act prescribes that any financial institution or designated non-financial business and profession that contravenes the provisions of this section commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of not less than 250,000 naira and not more than 1 million naira for each day the contravention continues. Section 12 also prohibits the opening of numbered or anonymous accounts in fictitious names as shell banks. It provides that any person or financial institution that contravenes the provisions of Section 12(1), and 3 commits an offense and is liable to imprisonment of not less than 2 years, and not more than 5 years in the case of an individual, and a fine of not less than 10 million naira, but not more than 50 million naira for a financial institution. In addition to the prosecution of the principal officers of the body and winding up and prohibition of its constitution or incorporation. Chairman of the committee, Senator Suleiman Abdul Kwari, in his presentation said the bill seeks to repeal the institution and legal framework on money laundering prohibition in Nigeria. Kwari said it would provide for an effective and comprehensive legal framework to reinvigorate the fight against money laundering in the country by leaning more on prevention as a useful tool to strengthen the existing legal regime in combating money laundering and other related crimes in the country. According to the chairman, the reenactment bill provides appropriate penalties and expands the scope of supervisory bodies to effectively address the challenges faced in the implementation of anti-money laundering laws in Nigeria. The bill was passed by the upper chamber after consideration by the committee of the whole. So they're passing this. They've banned Bitcoin. Nigeria. Listen, just imagine if Nigeria was to adopt Bitcoin, what it would do for Nigeria. Again, just imagine what it would do for Nigeria if they adopted Bitcoin. So they have this new money laundering act. Bitcoin is banned. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. But anyways, guys, links in the chat room. I'm going to place a link in the chat room. We'll wait a couple of minutes. If anybody wants to call in and add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to. Again, if you want to call in and add to the conversation, you are more than welcome to. More than welcome to. So link is in the chat room. Nigeria may change their mind on Bitcoin in the near future. They're going to have to. Especially a country like Nigeria. You're going to have to. I mean, it would only make sense for Nigeria to adopt Bitcoin. Oh, gas them up, my boy. Gas them up, my Niger Delta brother.
Hey, Baba Alpha.
Hey, what's going on?
Man, I'm good, man. Listen, I think there's a lot of good things that can come about with what Dangote is trying to do. Because I don't know, I didn't send you the email, but I was going to send it to you. He just with the nitrogen fertilizer factory.
Right. Yeah, I was going to get into that. In fact, let's talk about that. So this just happened. Like, did this just happen overnight? Because I didn't
Just
hear anything
happened
about this.
overnight. Just happened. And I think that's a great thing, because what that does is now farmers, because once you get rid of all the herdsmen and the Boko Haram stuff, once you and that can typically be solved very fairly quickly if they're serious, right? If northern Nigerians take it serious, they can get rid of that element using force and diplomacy, right? Because there's a reason why those people are agitating. A lot of times they're not included in the day-to-day workings of how Nigeria functions. But once you get rid of that, now with fertilizer being cheap, I mean, food can grow in abundance in Nigeria. I always make that example. Like I said, even with importation of fertilizer, I'll go to the markets, whether I'll go to, Boundary Market, or I go to Ikeja Market, the market over by Ogba, the Ogba Market by Penn Cinema, not too far from Allen, where you be at. When I go there, I can spend literally like maybe $20 and have enough food to last. You know what I'm saying? And
listen, but people don't understand. Like, this is what I love about Africa, man. That $20 worth of food and it's all organic will last you damn near a month.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the thing. I'm sitting there like, so imagine now when he has fertilizer, you don't have to import fertilizer. You can now get fertilizer directly from Dangote. Of course, he's going to get his cut, but I'm not mad at him.
Yeah, I'm not mad at him.
Great thing,
do it.
exactly. You know what I'm saying? The other good thing that he's doing is that refinery, which I wish he had kept under wraps. I wish he didn't speak out about it, because they know the minute that refinery is up and running, it's a whole new ball game. And the real thing that needs to be done.
But you can't keep a project like that under wraps. It's too hard to keep that under wraps.
True, but I mean, I probably would have tried to, shield it and say Nigerian government is doing it, just somehow, some way, because the thing, unfortunately, us as Black people, we always want to be the HNIC, right? So everybody wants to be that guy, and it's like sometimes be behind the scenes where they don't have to, because they target Dangote. I don't even want to speak that in the air, so I'm not even gonna put that in the ethers. But the point is like, I wish he had kept that a little bit more under wraps, or waited until he was almost done, because for a while they were trying to mess that thing up. A lot of lenders weren't trying to, because he needs financing to make sure the operation is running as he's doing the construction. So they were trying to mess with him. But I think he's got that under wraps now. So once that happens, and he actually partnered, I believe, with an Indian company to do his cars. So very smart. So now he has a refinery. You're gonna buy cars. You got, of course, you just mentioned
his cars. Like what?
No, he's producing cars now.
Dangote?
Yeah, Google it. Dangote's about to start making cars.
Oh man, God damn.
Yeah, man. I sometimes I'll be forgetting to put you in the email, but because I don't want your personal email with anybody else.
No, you good.
Okay, yeah, but once that here's the thing. If Nigeria once Nigeria does these two things, right? So the refinery is great, all that other stuff is great. The two things, of course, we got security and all those things are issues. But the two key things that I saw that need to be done is just to make an immediate impact. The ports. I don't know if you've ever tried to import anything in Nigeria.
Nah, I'm too afraid to do it. In fact, people I know, they import everything into Benin Republic, then drive it through.
And then drive it through Nigeria, because everything, there's like a big mafia. They run the ports, man. And when I did my research on it, I don't even want to say who I saw was behind it. I'm like, yeah, these dudes is not letting this stuff go. You know what I'm saying? But if they open up the ports, especially, and that's the part that kills me with a lot of the South people and the Southeast people, like if you open up, because I know Edo State, Delta State, of course, Cross Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, if they can get those ports opened. Now, let's say you want to ship whatever product, let's say your car. Typically, one of the reasons why costs are so expensive, which I'm not a fan of importation, but it is what it is. Africans love foreign things. It is what it is. So now you open up those ports, because what happens now when you ship your car from New Jersey or Cali or wherever you ship your car from to Nigeria or Germany, it has to go through Lagos. So there's a backlog. So you got to wait months. Then, of course, the bribery and corruption, blah, blah, blah. Then you got to get your car from Lagos all the way to the east. If you want to take it to Imo, if you want to take it to Delta, you want to take it to Abuja. So all that is just killing the time. Whereas if you open up the ports in Edo, if you open up the ports in Delta, if you open up the ports in these other places, and you have competition, now that reduces the price of importation. It actually would decrease the population of Lagos, because a lot of people would say, you know what? Why am I killing myself in Lagos, living on top of each other, when I can move back to Delta State? I can move back to, Cross River State or Edo State, or move closer to those places and sell my goods from right there. So that's one thing they need to do. They need to open up those ports. It's political. I know, like I said, when I did my research, why they're not opening it is they come up with a bunch of excuses. It's shameful that people from the South don't open up the ports. The other thing is the roads. The problem is we don't have the roads set up properly. It's not maintained. So like I tried, for example, one of the businesses I want to do is palm oil, right? So when I was in Nigeria, I talked with my boy. I said, yo, listen, man, we could get this palm oil, especially during the time when there's scarcity. All right, we can buy it right here, keep it. All right, cool. So he's out there across River State, so he could get the palm oil for cheap, right? He could get the 12, I forgot what because they use the metric system. So forgive me about it. I just came back from work. But
I think it's liters,
yeah, but it's the big one. So he could get it out there at that time. I know it's probably went up at that time. We could get the big one for about let me say 6,000, 7,000 naira. So selling it in Lagos, we would have probably, we could sell it for 14, which is nice. Here's the problem: to transport it from Cross Rivers to Lagos, it makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? Because by the time you try to transport it and the roads and everything they got to go through, you're probably looking at a 10,000 naira transportation cost,
right? Which
defeats the purpose to do that. So you might as well just buy it in Ogun State. But now everybody's already in Ogun State, so you're not, your profits are it's not gonna make any sense. So once they fix those roads and open up the ports in conjunction with the refinery and this fertilizer plant, I think a lot of good things will open up and the businesses will start to come up. And the last thing one of the other things I want to point out
take your time.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to point out, I think there's something that's missing a lot of times in our conversations about developing Africa. So, for example, I agree there's corruption. African leaders need to be held accountable. African people need to, take accountability for their behavior. And I'm actually going to say something on air that, even though I didn't necessarily agree with you in everything with the conversation you had with the gentleman yesterday, I want to apologize on the behalf of the Liberian people who did what they did, because I actually, I felt after watching the video, thinking about it, I felt your pain and I understood what you said. You said, yo, and I don't mean to get off topic, but you said all the Americans were trying to do was trying to find a place where they could live and not be disturbed, right? And it's a fact. You're in America, you're stressed out, no matter how successful you are, look at Ryan Coogler, you're still going to be treated a certain way. And here you are in Africa, regardless, like you said, man, they didn't do anything like what, the South Africans or King Leopold was doing. They didn't do any of that to those people. So, the fact that Samuel Doe did that, unfortunately, he's not the best. I felt he wasn't the best representation of, those people, and they may have had legitimate gripes, but they definitely went overboard and they were wrong in terms of their pushback. It was definitely wrong. So definitely want to say that out there as an African brother, to say that, yo, you're right, man. At the end of the day, you're our brother. Even if we don't agree, you're our brother, and you are entitled to that land. You have a stake, you have a say in that land, regardless of anything. Nobody should ever, fix their face and present it to the point where, that people from the diaspora should not, stake a claim and make a stance, because, so I just want to put that out there. That
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. It's just, again, the issue I have when it comes to Liberia, what fires me up is, when this narrative that Americans came and were, enslaving, and then he made the comparison to the Boers. I'm like, nah. And then, hey, they were acting like white people. I mean, dude, like, they were on plantations for 200 years. I mean, there wasn't no, integration course.
Right, man. I thought about it. You was right.
Before they arrived in Liberia, they were literally put on boats and dropped off and had to figure it out and survive. So, that's just the issue I have.
No, like I said, man, at the end of the day, the fact still remains. They what was given back to them, even though there were gripes, may have been legitimate gripes, but there's a saying, right? Sometimes your response can actually make you irresponsible. When someone does something to you, there's a way to go about, doing things. And what Doe did, I mean, you had guys like Joshua Bly, General Buttnake. I mean, the type of brutality, we haven't seen that type of brutality since like the Inquisition time. So definitely, like I said, it was wrong, it was hurtful, and I'm glad actually the conversation was had, because I think those are the type of conversations to create healing, even though people may disagree, but there still should be some sort of a conciliatory effort on the part of Africans from the continent to say, hey, listen, look, man, we may not, always see eye to eye, like you said, coming from a place of 200 years, and you're on this new land, you want to do as best as you can. There could have been much more conciliation. But I wanted to point out that the part that's missing when we talk about developed Africa, especially in the modern sense, and you know me, I'm pro village, keep them all the way. I want to stay in my village, stay away from these people. But the taxation issue, when you look at the United States, you look at especially the United States, you look at these so-called developed nations, the one thing that they have for them is they have an internal tax revenue system that
Yeah,
is
but the
so
thing is,
right.
right, you're right, but you just don't want to like I just think this tax system here in America, especially the direction it's going in now, it's being weaponized damn near. I think that's the problem.
In
So
America or in Africa?
balance. There just needs to be balance. But I'll say this: I like how, so from my understanding in how Igbos do things, like if you got a red cap, you are responsible for your community. And you need to make sure it's developed. You collect the taxes. You do it that way. I'm for that. Like in every community, there's a community leader that says, "Look, we need this project done. We need this road built. We need this finished. Pitch in. We're going to tax." I think it should be done on that level, because the way the United States of America, the way they've implemented their tax system, it's criminal.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I think that's the key part that we're missing. Even if you look at the history of the so-called modern nation state, I didn't bring out my resource, but I wrote my thesis on this years ago, and literally when I started researching it, the guy, one of the people comes to mind, Habermas, right, Jürgen Habermas. You start to see, there's another guy, Tilly. You start to see the history of the modern day nation state is tied to taxation and the military. And so African economies, and I've been saying this, if you remove Western purchasing of their resources, most of those African economies are broke. Most of those African economies are literally broke because they are not generating any internal revenue at the level to really create developmental projects. They can't even raise capital. Like in America, we call it a treasury, but it's really a junk bond, especially now when you think about it. Like the U.S. holding a U.S. bond, almost damn near negative interest rates, is pointless, right? But still, they're able to raise and float capital because nobody wants to put their money elsewhere. And what backs up the capital that they raise with the quote unquote treasuries is the American taxpayer. Because literally everything we do in this country, as soon as you get your check, Dennis, what's the first thing they take? Their FICA, Social Security. It's so systematic and organized. And so they're able to literally finance things 10, 15, 20 years down the line because they know the American taxpayer will still be there. And I agree with you. I would not want that in Africa. Maybe there's a middle ground. I hope smarter people than me can call in and we can have a conversation, put it out there in the atmosphere. But that, I think, is the one key part that's missing, is that we're not looking at effective taxation because none of these African countries are generating internal revenue from taxation. Most of their revenue comes from foreign people who are consuming their resources. And by the time the corruption gets done with that, almost little to nothing is left for actual maintenance and development of key infrastructure projects. So, for example, like Nigeria, they definitely need a railway. Like, there's no reason why Lagos can't have like an overhead railway the same way New York City has, or Chicago. There's no reason why, for example, some states in the East can't have like a trolley system like the way they have in California, you know, or a bus system like well, they have now with the BRT. When was the last time you went to Nigeria? When the last time you was in Lagos?
I was in Lagos October of last year, but the train. I think the train's
The
going
train is
to
moving now, but did you take the BRT? Yeah, but did you take the BRT? When you go to
Nah.
Nigeria, I'm gonna hit you up, of course, on the back channel with your email. I'm gonna probably be there this summer, but definitely when I took the BRT, it was beautiful because even though some idiot, I think, you know, did some terrible stuff to some girl on the BRT, they had to shut it down. But on the BRT, it shocked me because, you know, when you go from Oshodi and you start the traffic there in Oshodi, horrific. But now with the BRT lane, I literally can get from Oshodi all the way to, like, you know, Abu Legba, all those places in like 20, 25 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even have to sit in the damn phone anymore. Like, you can literally sit in the BRT bus and get to Lagos Island, get to everywhere you want to go. So I think those things are needed. And hopefully, if they're raising taxes and people are seeing the benefits of those things, you know, we can start to see a turnaround in the type of development that many people want for Africa. You know, so like you look at China, they have an effective tax system. Even again, I'm gonna even point out with China too. You know, like everyone says, China, Africa is so backward. Let's not forget, you know, after World War II, Japan and Germany had the Marshall Plan. There was funds that were put to develop their economies after they were destroyed. China, President Nixon selected China in 1970 and said, "Yo, you're gonna make cheap American goods." He could have easily selected Ghana and Nigeria. Why didn't he? Imagine if Nixon had said, "You know what? I'm going to have Africa be the place where cheap American goods come from." You know, it's not like the Chinese just woke up and said, "Hey, we're going to, you know, make cheap American goods." The Japanese actually had that role for many years. And as a matter of fact, initially their products were seen as inferior. And then, of course, they scaled up. But China has had that role for, you know, for a long time. So I'm just saying a lot of times it does involve them being selected. Of course, they put in their legwork, but I think we miss that part when it comes to Africa. To Africa, no African country has actually been somewhat selected by the West to really do legitimate business. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think the West would ever want to put Africa in a position where they will, I guess, be self-sufficient, or put Africa in a position where they would want to do business on an equal level, where Africa will actually benefit. So it won't. I don't think Africa. I don't think the West will ever do that. That's something that's something that Africa needs to do internally. But counting on the West to, you know, I guess create, you know, to pick a country or a country in Africa to become the next manufacturing hub, that's not going to happen.
So then here's the question: if that's the case, now how then do we? Of course, I've been screaming internal development, right? You know, trading amongst ourselves. I've always said, look at Mansa Musa, largest empires, Zimbabwe, Benin. Matter of fact, Edo needs to be studied in large scale Dahomey, minus their unfortunate issues with the slave trade. They had a very strong central economy in terms of developing themselves and some of those things. So I think
well, I know. Oh, you mean Oyo or Edo?
no, I'm talking Oyo too, right? Edo. I'm talking about like Benin, like with the Oba of Benin, right? They had a very when the Portuguese got there, they said that the streets looked, you know, because Harlem is actually a Dutch, Portuguese word, but they said their streets looked like it rivaled their city.
I think Harlem's a Dutch word.
Dutch word, but if I'm not mistaken, because like I said, it's late, I just came back. But when they got to Edo, they said that the roads were paved, and literally
lit up.
Lit. Like, they had lights. They said that, and these are the Portuguese themselves saying it. They said that there was literally like no concept of stealing, right? And I'm not romanticizing to say we could go back to that. We can attempt to try to think about that, but I'm saying like, yeah, those places had concepts of development that, you know, of course, those are the Walter Rodney arguments. Had those things not been interfered with, Africa would probably be on par. So I'm saying that to say, if there is no Western government that will partner with an African system to, for example, allow Africa, because think about it, China's developed. Why hasn't America or the West said, you know what, we're good? You know, we can move some of that to Africa now. They can build factories in Africa, and I'm not for it. I'd be one of the first ones to say, hell no, let me stay in my village. But if we want to so-called develop, no one can tell me that doing business in terms of corruption, India is just as corrupt as Nigeria, just as corrupt, probably even more so. So why has the West not, you know, and capital not, and that's the racism of capital all across, you know, that I've noticed, even in the United States, with black, with us black people, we don't get access to the capital from Silicon Valley.
Because we're black. Because we're black.
That's it, right? If some of that capital went down to one College Park, when I went to Atlanta, man, College Park scared the crap out of me. I've been to hoods, but College Park was scary.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
listen. Old
You know?
Nasty Highway is still Old Nasty Highway. Yeah,
Exactly, man. Like I went to the stores and their security had like AKs. I said, "Where is this, Nigeria? This is crazy." You know what I'm saying? So some of that capital can go to College Park, and it would actually develop, right? So I'm kind of confused if it's all about economics and there's no racism, as the Fox News people like to say. Well, why don't y'all take some of that capital and open up some factories in Nigeria and open up, heck, forget Nigeria. You're scared, go to Ghana, go to Kenya and open up real legitimate factories, because India is pretty much well developed already. China's pretty much well developed already. You guys don't have to keep concentrating capital in those regions. I mean, I'll stop for now, but John, brother, what do you think? What do you?
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you there for your wonderful point. First of all, I'll let you greet Prince Dynast. I've been following your channel for about I think about 1 year now, and this is the first time speaking. All right, so quickly responding to what Gay said, I think I'd like to agree with you. It's about racism. If you look at white people, they have this notion that brown people, white people, but are good, but the black people, no, they are not really. They've not learned to trust, the black people enough. So that's why they don't actually. They would not invest capital in Africa. And if you look at the current Western, when they talk about the international community, they're talking about Europe, talking about Australia, New Zealand. You understand? And to them, if you follow the American Senate, all they say is Africa does not matter. Africa does not matter, and that's their problem. It's fine. It's perfectly okay with them. Africa does not matter to them now, but in the nearest future, because what I'm seeing right now is that we are moving to a bipolar world. The dollar, the hegemony on the dollar is going to break very, very soon. That's what I'm seeing with the Russian-Ukraine war, with China, attempting to, trying to break out of the US dollar. We're going to see more economics de-dollarize. So I think by the time we get to that point, and what I see is I see Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, in the second economic bloc. Probably the Caribbean will join, and large parts of South America will join. So it's just a decline for the West. They will decline, and and it will force other economies to rise, because Africa, for example, like what you said, we lack a middle class. For example, Nigeria, because I'm a Nigerian, we lack a middle class, and you can't have a middle class without enough factories. We need to industrialize, which is what we are doing now. So what I see is we might not necessarily industrialize to export, but we might industrialize to become self-sufficient. And when we are self-sufficient, we can begin to add value to our neighbors and probably break out of the Western hegemony of the dollar. So what I see is the West is probably going to look at Africa slip off their hands. That's what I see, because they've always ignored Africa, probably because of the slave trade. Even they haven't scared of paying Black Americans reparations, because I don't know how they feel. Probably they are scared, or probably there's a guilty conscience with white people that they just don't trust Black people. So what I see is Africa is going to slip off their hands, and there will be a second block: China, Russia, Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. So the West is going to the West is going to shrink in the next 10 to 20 years. They're going to shrink, and and it might have an adverse effect on the American people, because billionaires are going to spring up from other parts of the world. So it won't be it won't be America, the American, and the. So I think that's what is going to happen. So what I see is Africa has to take the pain, because it's quite difficult. They have to pay the price of going from this agrarian economy to an industrialized economy, which is why I love the topic. Aliko Dangote just opened the refinery. I live very close to the refinery here in Lekki. It's a wonderful place. So Africa does have to take the pain, bear the sacrifice. We can rely on, we know we can get funds from our diaspora, but the West will not hand over Africa. They won't give us the key to prosperity. They won't, because they know that, or probably they think that Africa is going to pay them back, but I think that's what's in their mind. But thinking of handing us the key to prosperity, I don't think they will do it. We have to figure out a way on how to do it on our own. Okay, now talking about, you said something about the rail system. I think Lagos actually has, the rail is coming up. It's a light rail, wonderful project. Though it's it's a 10-year project, and it's supposed to be completed by this year. So we hope to see it this year, because the governor, I think there was a rail from the USA that was purchased down to Nigeria. So we hope to see it active. And the BRTs are doing very well also. They're upgrading, they're adding new bus line. For example, as of today, there's a bus line in Lekki. So it's becoming big, it's becoming, industrialized. So let's just hope
they don't complete that bus line for Lekki finally.
Yeah, they don't do it now. Everything, the road don't do okay, everything don't make sense. It don't wide well.
So Dinus, you could get from Allen to Lekki like that with the BRT. You get to Nigeria, you got to get on that BRT.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this:
wonderful.
BRT, is that the train or is that the bus? And is that the new bus terminal when you're
That's the new bus. That Oshodi bus terminal? Yeah, that's where all those buses come.
Okay, yes. but is that the new terminal, like when you go into Maryland right before you get to Ikeja, like when you're leaving the airport, and it's like that new bus terminal on the left?
Yes. When you right about like, because Oshodi, when you want to connect to the airport, if I'm seeing it correct, because you said Maryland. No.
Yeah, and it's on the left. So when you're coming from the international airport, or when you're coming from the local airport,
the local one, okay.
When you're headed to Maryland and Ikeja, it's like there's a new bus station that's on the left before you go over the hill, or when you go over the hill.
When you go up on top of, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that because the BRT's got their own lane now. So like, of course you got not everywhere though. So the one in Lekki, you get your own. That ask.
The one in Lekki, does not have its own lane. Not everyone in Lekki. The place where there are BRT lanes is from Oshodi to Abulegba has a BRT lane. I think there's one coming in Badagry. But Lekki is kind of developed. It's a reserved area, so there's no BRT lane there for now. Probably they might have one in there, probably from Lekki to Ekpes, something of like that. But the only place where we have BRT lane is Oshodi to Abulegba. Yeah, so for now, yeah.
No, those are all wonderful things. I think, but my like I've always said, I'm one of those village people. I'm not a fan of so-called industrialization, in the sense that I've always felt that, like, when we say industrialize, go ahead.
Okay, no, go on. Let me hear your point. Let me hear from you. I think you should land. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, when we say industrialize, because like Dana said, right? Dana said, okay, we can walk through Africa right now, right? And someone can buy groceries. It's affordable. It's non-GMO. All these things. I just saw a report. I'm gonna send it to you, Dana. Bill Gates, he just admitted, their foundation just admitted that almost all their agricultural projects failed completely in Africa for the most part. None of them was successful. All those big ideas to create, modern industrial farming, none of it worked, right? And I think for me, we have to ask ourselves, are we Africans first or are we global citizens first? Because if we're going to be like Africans,
Okay.
right? I'm a Fela fan, so I'll just admit it, I'm a Fela super. I'm biased with
Okay.
people like Fela. So for my own thinking is,
Okay.
what does development look like to us as Africans? We
Okay.
can't always go with the narrative that, well, that's the modern world and we have to follow it. So I'm not against quote unquote development, but we have to ask ourselves. So for example, who told us that we are poor? Who is defining the
Okay.
metrics for poverty? You
It's
understand?
true. That's true.
Who is
Yeah.
defining these metrics? Most of these metrics come from the UN. Do
From
you
the
know? Look,
West. Yes, from the West.
look. Let me not even say that on air. But listen, these people have a very strong hold on us.
Okay.
Even
Okay. Let
in
me
the
let
way
them
we
clearly
define
respond
it.
to you.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Talking about Bill Gates. You see, one thing about white people is that white people don't really understand Africa. Like I said, and this is why I agree with you. You see, we are the one that will decide on how we're going to develop. You see, Bill Gates just roaming up and down Nigeria. At times, you see him roaming up and down, say he's doing Bill Gates Foundation, he's helping. You see, even during when they came for Africa, when they scrambled for Africa, they did not go inside, into the, like into the deep part of the land. They were at the ocean. So white people, they think they know everything, but they don't know jack shit about Africa. We are the one to understand how we are going to like develop ourselves. So Bill Gates saying is agricultural stop faith in Africa. I think probably he made mistake in his research. Probably he made error. But I know that I've studied one thing about white people. White people don't know jack about Africa. They cannot develop the continent for us because they don't understand it. So now going forward, when I say that we should industrialize, it's going to help us because, for example, we have excess tomatoes in Nigeria. I think we are one of the highest growing in the world, and these tomatoes are brought in from the farm, and they all get spoiled. So why don't we have massive mega processing facilities to help us process these tomatoes? So that's one part. Also, going into our mining sector, we have steel in Nigeria, we have titanium, we have, it's very easy, we can start producing our own cars. So like I said, we might not produce to export, but we can produce at least for ourselves. So at least most of these things that drive us to for example, you want to shop iPhone, shop on Amazon, shop on Alibaba, AliExpress. If we can at least push our limit to the extent whereby we are doing these things by ourselves, over time we can improve on them. So this is where this is why I said that we have to become an industrialized economy. And if you look at Africa, we have young people, young labor. In sub-Saharan Africa, we have about 1.5 billion Africans. They need jobs. One way that they can quickly get employed is by factories. So we just have to come up with our own solution.
When you say by factories, keep in mind, see, because a lot of times, for example, right, and this is why I say we have to be very careful. So now, for example, when they talk of development, they use a term, they say GDP per capita. GDP, but GDP is a silly metric. It's a very silly metric because what does GDP mean? Before in the 70s, it was GNP, right? And so what I'm saying we have to be careful is, okay, for example, when Diners, you know this, you walk all around Nigeria, one of the biggest eyesores is what? Pollution. Trash. One of the biggest eyesores. Now, that's not how if from when the Portuguese got to Benin and said there was the most cleanest places they've ever seen in their life, until now, I just saw a paper that said that in Congo, I believe their what is it, for their power plant or something, their water, whatever, because of trash is blocking it, is actually affecting the ability to generate power. You walk all up and down Nigeria, everyone's just throwing plastic water bottles, plastic bottles, plastic. So these are the after effects. And so that's why I say we have to be careful, because if we're not going to think like Africans, in Africa, we appreciate our land. We appreciate our trees. We have a relationship with these things, right? On a spiritual level. I'm not a Christian, so I'll put that out there. I'm not Muslim. I love Islam, but I'm definitely not a Christian. You understand? Me, I'm one of those pagans in the village calling my ancestors, chilling with the gods. So we have a
It's
relationship with
fine.
our environment. We have a relationship with our environment, and with this idea of so-called industrializing, how are we going to manage it? That's the real question. For example, and I'll end with this, and I want to hear Tunaja, please join. The
Hey,
dynasty.
let Naja
Yeah,
come on and be negative. Two Naja about to
yes.
be negative.
No,
Go ahead.
Tina's is my guy. But when you get on a downfall dynast, right? Your fear when you get on the downfall, you have all those alaye at the bus park, right? You think that these people would say, yo, you know what? Listen, I'm the head dude in the mafia town. I run the block, right? Let me make sure that the tires on these cars as they leave the lot are good. Let me make sure that this stuff is at least safe. They don't care about that. They still making money. Because I think I saw a report how much money these touts and these dudes is making every day in Lagos alone, right?
Per year, it's
They
$1
don't
billion
wait.
per year. $1
Yeah,
billion per
it's a
year.
lot of money. So what I'm saying is that they don't have a concept of being responsible, because that idea of even industrializing comes from an idea of progress. There's a great book you guys can Google in the chat. It's called The Idea of Progress and the History of the Idea of Progress. This linear Darwinian type of thinking that is forced upon us, forced upon the world. It says, if you are not so-called progressing, you are backward. That came about in European thought. And so how are we going to responsibly manage this thing called industrialization? Look at China today. Yeah, they're so-called industrialized, right? But they have an explosion of diabetes. They have some of the most terrible air that you can breathe. Some of the most terrible air pollution is in China, all in our bid to modernize. So I'm just saying that we have to handle these things responsibly, ecologically sound, things like permaculture. And I think we should be in tune with ourselves as Africans as we engage with these things of Western development. So I want to, hear what you guys have to say.
Go ahead, to Naja. Go ahead, to Naja.
All right. Thanks for having me. And I actually think that everybody gave a very good contribution. I guess I will start off with the negative bits. When the Chinese were chosen, the reason why the Chinese were chosen, I think, has something to do with the Soviet Union. And because America, it makes sense for them to try to move the Chinese away from the Soviet Union, so that they don't, become allies like they are today, because that is going to break America's back. They understood that then. So the part about the manufacture of some of those, armored vehicles, those are very, very positive things that I see in the country, in terms of Nigeria. For me, anyway, if I look at the way things are going, I am on the ground. I'm buying 50 liters of fuel for 15,000 naira, and which is an increase in price of stuff. Now we are subjected to that kind of issue because there was an issue with this thing, petrol in Nigeria, that nobody has answered for. Somebody brought some adulterated fuel into the country. Somehow nobody's answerable for it, and these people have disrupted the Nigerian economy to the point where people are spending almost more than twice for this in petrol. And those type of things, when you see it in the country, I see a lot of positive things. That, make no mistake about it, I literally call those people angels, the ones that are actually doing all the right things, keeping the roof up and even trying to push forward. But when you look at some of the other aspects of what is going on there, I worry. I really worry, because it's like these people, there are some people out there that are just there to ensure the country doesn't work, while others are doing their best to make the country work. Others are just out there trying to disrupt it.
To Naja, can you be specific on the people who are why they're sabotaging the country and what they gain from that? Can you be more specific on that?
I think if I'm to be specific, I would say that some people, because of their own selfish interest, they want to be profit, like some of all these elites in the country, they want to be profitable while they can work with outside forces to also achieve whatever they want. In other words, sabotage the country. They don't care. All they care about is themselves. This is the nature of elitism. They never give up power until you take it away from them. And sometimes when I look at the situation, I feel like many, and the same pattern repeats itself in many Black African countries, many of them are being run as if they are caretaker government, awaiting the day of the return of some other people. And that bothers me a lot. It's almost, I can see signs that Nigeria is beginning to wake up now, you know, having their own company for defense and all the rest of it, even manufacturing the defense, this in a war ship last year. I can see signs that they are beginning to get themselves. But why did it take so long? These things are common sense. Why did it take so long for a nation to be run in such a way as if we are awaiting the return?
Because many of our leaders are members of the lodge. Many of our leaders in Africa are members of certain lodges and secret societies in the West, especially in Francophone West Africa.
You see, that's the problem. When you look at the way, even when you register a business in Nigeria, sometimes it's almost like they tell you, okay, you are registered a business, but they don't facilitate it so that you can actually be able to function freely without infringing a law. In other words, they can undermine your business any moment if you are not careful with the way you navigate the legal system or tie yourself to institutions. And it bothers me a lot because I feel like these things are common sense. Power supply is endemic. I've been on the ground in Nigeria for over 4 years. Power supply has basically remained frozen when you can go online and you can find, like, I spent 15 minutes just looking online today about this power issue because it got on my nerves today. And I looked at it online. I said, okay, how much does it take to get mobile power plants? And I just saw a review of 25 megawatts of mobile power plants, and it can supply 160,000 homes electricity. And the average price that the average price that they charge it for is around $11.something million. That is $11.something million. Nigeria generates $500 billion every year in GDP. Why is it we are having this type of problems when we have the money? I don't like to use it.
Do we have the money? Wait, hold on. Let's be specific, because the money comes from foreign revenue, most of it. And again, I'm not saying that, yes, crude oil.
No, it's not actually.
Most
of Nigeria's that GDP is not from crude oil.
Well, actually, the GDP was even less until they added Nollywood years ago. I believe during Obasanjo's time. But what I'm saying is that until, and unfortunately, if you look at the obligations, even internally, in terms of debt obligations that Nigeria owes to its pension holders, salaries, things of that nature, I don't think any African country is robust to handle itself internally without foreign income. And so until, how do we raise an effective tax base? Because that's the real thing. We need an effective tax base if we're going to get payment for those things. People look at, like, for example, US, UK, Germany, all these places. The magic, the juju that they have is their revenue system. Look, even in this so-called America, do you know that nobody has ever battled with the IRS and won? Only group that's ever gone against the IRS was Church of Scientology. That's the only group that has gone against the IRS and won. The IRS does not play games. Al Capone, biggest gangster, IRS came after him. They didn't care about all the people he murdered, all the innocent lives. He didn't pay his taxes. So how do we get an effective tax system that is not going to be used for one, politician's child to go off to London?
Can I
go ahead.
Let me respond. Let me respond.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. You see, let me tell you the problem with Africa, with African leaders. You see, these people, I discovered that, you see, the West runs a people-oriented knowledge economy. You see, Africa runs a natural resources-based economy. You see, African leaders don't care about people. That's why you see a country like Nigeria with 200 million people, they cannot generate our revenue every year is $10 billion. And you wonder why you have over 200 million people. So, and you have South Africa with less than 60 million people generating $85 billion per year. So it means that Nigeria, we are plenty, but there's no brain. There's no brain because everybody is okay. Let's take this crude oil. We have these resources. We have gold. We have crude oil. So until we have people that can sit down, and I can tell you that we are getting there. We are getting there slowly because this crude oil, the money they get from these stupid, dirty resources, cannot go around, and the people are complaining. So they will take us to a point whereby they will be hooked up. And they will be forced to look at the people. Oh yeah, what can you bring? What can you offer? That's why they don't care about business law because they feel that who are you? What do you want to give us? You see someone like the wife of Tunumbu. She will say, "Which youth? Stupid youth. Youth are stupid people because they are confident that we have crude oil, we have oil well." She will say, "I should show them that the youth are the bedrock of the economy." For example, me now. I run an online business. I bring in thousands of dollars in revenue in Nigeria. So when you begin to have more people like me in the country, we can theoretically raise money more than your crude oil. But you call us stupid because you feel that you have your oil where you have your. So until you get to that level whereby that crude oil fail, that gold fail, okay, now is so. I think until we get there, before these people begin to think people, not resources. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that he talked about tax, this in tax base and how we can get it going. I think first of all, to get it going, Nigerians are very cynical of their leaders. They think that they are corrupt. So you have to take care of that trust issue. You have to ensure 100% transparency, except in areas of security and maybe other sensitive areas. You have to ensure transparency in the sense that government accounts have to be transparent to people and transparent to the fraud agency too. There's no reason why we should keep government accounts secret. I don't know why paying teachers has to be in the dark. I don't know why building roads has to be in the dark. We need to know where the money is going and who is going to. And if you know that, the people will trust the system more and they are more likely to contribute to anything that you want. And I believe that there has to be a transition phase. You can't just drag people straight into a taxing system. You could, but you are going to have a bit more problem. I think one of the ways you could do that, you call it a kind of contribution to specific activities in the country. You can say you want to contribute to take care of power supply. You let them know that this is the stuff that is going to cost. This is the people that are going to supply it. They are very reputable. You show people their CV, and then you say this is the amount we need. We need this amount from the country. The country has got 70-something million active current accounts, and the Nigerian government has proven that they are capable of withdrawing funds from people's accounts when the law is there, when the law is put in place. So the provisions are already there to take care of these things. When you take the money from people's accounts and you put it in a separate account, people can monitor what is happening. And the only power the government have to release those funds is to say, okay, this is the company that everybody knows about that is going to create this, supply this power supply equipment, and this is the amount they are going to we are going to assign to them. And when the government signs it and sends it to the bank releases the money directly to those people. It doesn't touch any politician's account, and the people see when the money is transferred. When people start having ownership of that, seeing that type of stuff and having ownership, they will start trusting the system. And when they start trusting the system, you cannot tell them about health, education, security, and they'll be willing to pay. You know why? Because Nigerians have the money. It's not I don't care about the so-called oil and natural resources. They have the money in their pockets. Nigerians, do you know how much they spend in churches every Sunday? Do you know how much they spend
Friday night parties?
Friday night parties. Do you know how much they spend in putting iron bars and iron this on their windows and their doors and their gates and building estates? Do you know how much they pay for estate levies? I pay it, so I know. These people have money. They are just channeling it in the wrong way. There is money all over the country.
Let me ask you a philosophical question to all the people on the chat. Dinus, you too, please. Do you think, and I've always been saying this, right? Me personally, I think that part of it, like you said, there's no real accountability. People feel like, okay, well, what's it concern me? You know, like we always say in Nigeria, to serve Nigeria is not by force. You understand? So maybe if we remove and we start, you know, holding these people accountable, not just according to the way you said, but also through traditional means. I would love for a politician to come there and swear to Ogun and put his family there and say, look, we are swearing by Ogun.
They will refuse to because they know the
you see what I'm saying? You know, let's let these politicians start swearing by some deities so that, look, when you mess up, the deity will destroy your children, break their neck, they'll die. Let's bring that back to Africa. Because you know what you just said, when the Portuguese were there, that's how Africa was. There's a great book you can read by Velasco, The Entrepreneur as Culture Hero. It actually talks about how this thing we call Olokun came into the southern part of Nigeria after trade with the West. You know, all the Mami water trade and all that stuff, all of those things. The idea of wealth coming from the water came about after our trade with the West. And, you know, like typical Africans, we made a god out of it. You know, so let's start swearing by these deities again. And in addition to, like you said, the transparency. But yeah, it's a philosophical question. I know most Nigerians will not go for it, but to Nigeria and Ayo, I would love to hear what you guys think about that.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I've said it many times on different forums that as far as religion goes, you know, there are different belief systems in different communities, and I just don't understand why we in Africa decided to forgo our traditional belief system for you know, the white man's or the Arabs. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm the same way too. I'm not Christian. I'm not Muslim. But if I had to practice a belief system, it would definitely be Ifa. It would definitely be something that my ancestors, that worked for my ancestors and their community. So you know, not to sort of like get too sidetracked by that. I completely see where you're coming from. The issue is maybe the younger generation coming may be open to that, but these old guys who are currently holding all the power in Nigeria and by extension Africa as a whole, just it just doesn't seem like a very likely proposition that you know, they're gonna jettison their Christian or Islamic beliefs in favor for something more traditional, which I feel holds the people more accountable and is more sort of meaningful to us as African people. Now, I mean, you guys have been having a pretty interesting conversation, you know, from the get-go, and I know we talked about taxes and infrastructure and GDP and all that. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, the GDP or using the Western metric in some ways is, I mean, we have to be held to some sort of metric, and as long as every country on the planet is being measured by a metric, then I think it's a valid tool to see where we are. The thing that we seem to neglect the most, especially, and I don't know how other African countries are, but I know specifically Nigeria, there's a really large informal sector that isn't captured by banks and just, you know, sort of like traditional means of measuring wealth and economic activity, and that's sizable. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to you know, find out that Nigeria's GDP in real terms is probably at about 50% higher than what it's projected to be. And until, I mean, I think a lot of these new age fintech apps are actually looking into that, where, you know, they have bank apps for the informal sector, and all that is going to start sort of like reflecting in the GDP, I suppose, in the next 3 to 5 years, I would imagine. And it does seem like Nigeria is on the right track. I mean, the investment in infrastructure is pretty staggering, but we still have to get away from the the way all these old guys think, and the vested interest is certainly holding the country back. I'm glad to see that they're taking the airport situation seriously, and they've opened a new terminal. I haven't been to Nigeria in over 10 years, and I guarantee you, the number one reason I haven't been there is because it actually gives me anxiety thinking about flying into Lagos the way that airport was, or the last time I went.
Hopefully the big man, small. Hopefully they left that stays at the old terminal.
I know, man. That the anxiety was just nuts, and I'm looking forward to going soon. Hopefully, they'll revamp their operations as well. So we'll see. And then, obviously the BRT, the rail system. I mean, it's encouraging. There are lots of encouraging signs, and also the security problem does seem to me like it's definitely self-inflicted. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but it does seem like some politicians, probably in the north, are benefiting from all that chaos that's going on. At least that's what I hear.
Hey, don't diss my northern brothers, man. I'm probably the only southern Nigerian that actually loves the north. I got a lot of love for the north.
No,
I love the north.
No, I love the north as well. I'm not disparaging the north. I mean, trust me, there's enough corruption and bad actors in every single sector of Nigerian ethnic group. So no, I'm not disparaging the north. I'm just saying that there's probably some certain politicians up north that are benefiting from the insecurity, but it does seem like it's beginning to calm down. It feels like they're getting a handle on it. Same thing in Lagos too, where I think we were talking about all these touts and agberos who were sort of like empowered by the governor many moons ago. That needs to be handled. So I mean, those guys are pretty much just a menace. So
I won't call them a menace. You got to keep in mind. I mean, if you study, like, for example, the history of New York City, you had a guy like Boss Tweed, right? Where I think he said you can always hire one half of the poor to beat up the other half of the poor. What's the difference between Boss Tweed and Tinubu? It's the same thing. These guys have a mentality of of power and corruption. But Dinas, I don't mean to. I want to ask you, Dinas, because you said about Bitcoin. Why do you? What is your thing about Bitcoin? Because I'm not necessarily a fan of Bitcoin in Nigeria per se, but I want to hear how would it benefit Nigeria?
It's a hedge against inflation. It's a storage of wealth. I mean, the naira is. I mean, I think it's gonna come to a point, the direction that a lot of these African currencies are going in, that they might not exist 10 years from now, 10 to 20 years from now, just with the amount of inflation. You see what's going on with the SETI in Ghana. You see what's going on with the naira. I would say the only currency right now that's somewhat holding its value in Africa is the safe. When I travel, it's the SAFA. But the exchange rate for the dollar to naira, the dollar for Salones now in Sierra Leone, the dollar for SETIs. Oh man, I live great now when I go. I mean, I live great. Exchanging that dollar for, I go right off of Allen Avenue in Obafemi. The Muslims right there on the corner. I get 600 naira per dollar. 600 naira per dollar.
Now I gotta take you to they cheating you over there. I gotta take you to Lagos Island.
It's over 700 now, I think.
Yeah, it's more than that. I gotta take you to Lagos. See, Dinas, next time, Dinas, I'm gonna email you. I'm gonna email you the number. I'm gonna get some people straight in Lagos Island. Them dudes on Island, they're gonna cheat you.
I'm telling you that I'm buying fuel every week.
Listen, I was happy with 600. You saying it's 700?
Oh, no. Oh, sorry. It's in pounds. Sorry. I'm using pounds.
Yeah, you're in pounds. I'm talking dollars.
Yeah.
It's like 600 naira per dollar on my little spot off of Allen Avenue.
Yeah. I think all that is going to correct pretty soon. Once that refinery starts to produce end product petroleum, Nigeria's going to start saving a lot of money, a lot of foreign exchange, that's used to import the refined product. So I suspect the Naira will stabilize pretty soon in the next year, if not two, and it should gradually improve as time goes by and most of these infrastructure projects come online. Now, you did mention, I think it was G who was talking about the Bitcoin situation. So I think that I don't know that we can adapt Bitcoin as a primary currency. There's actually a Latin American country that did that. Which country is it? I'm trying to remember. I don't want to.
El Salvador. El Salvador.
El Salvador?
And they're screaming in pain right now.
Right. So, and it's just too volatile, and but it's supposed to supposedly be banned in Nigeria, but it's really not, because you can still, if you have a wallet, you can still transact. You just can't go through the normal banking system like you could prior to its ban.
But why would we do that when we can use the e-Naira? Dinas, did you get your e-Naira? Did you buy some e-Naira?
I downloaded the app. I just haven't.
So the issue with the e-Naira is the government just came out, and this is what Pope Planning does. The government just came out, floated a digital currency without buying the inputs or taking any input from the people who are actually going to use it. Now, currency is, for lack of a better term, a trust token to some degree. No one trusts anything. Nigerians don't trust anything from their government. So if you feel like you're just going to float some digital currency and people are just going to start making use of it without you trying to build some sort of trust that you never have had it, your people have never had in you, it's like it's going to fail. It's a great idea on paper, and that's what they were looking at. They were saying, oh man, if we can just get this digital currency going, one Naira for 1 Naira, and it will definitely capture a lot of that economic activity we're missing. It would make transactions. It's a brilliant idea. The only thing they neglected to focus on is the trust factor. Because if they had spent 5% of that effort trying to win over trust, advertising, explaining to people why it's a good idea, it probably would have taken off a lot better than it did. But I think it's still a good idea.
But let me, if you don't mind, I'll push back a little bit. Tunaji, do you want to talk something? I don't want to cut you.
I wanted to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
I think to convince Nigerians of anything, to have them trust the government, I think you have to put systems in place. They are not going to take any politicians or anybody's word for it. Right now, if Christ comes from heaven and tells them, as long as it has to do with Nigerians, they will even doubt Christ. I can tell you that right now. Because you need systems in place, and I have to give this in for the Europeans and the Western world. Most of it, even the Chinese, they track everything. They don't rely on trust.
Right.
We can't. Our systems. We keep asking things to rely on trust or individuals to have integrity. What forces people to have integrity if they know that they're going to get caught? When you have CCTV cameras everywhere, people behave themselves better. When you have GPS in cars, they stop stealing cars. If you don't put systems in place to prevent this and discourage bad behavior, you are not going to build trust. Because if let's say the government account that we put money into, we can track every money coming in and going out of it. If people see that, they'll say, okay, since we can trust it and it's in Zenith Bank, Zenith Bank is not exactly going to run away with our money. So let's just trust the bank and make sure, because now any money that goes out, I will get an alert. That's the kind of trust you want to build. I believe that we as Africans, we need to start thinking outside the box and maybe even consider building systems that are more advanced than what they have here. Because anything else, our people are not going to trust it. If anything that is in the dark, you create a trust fund. I hear recently they are talking about the NYSC. They are creating a trust fund for them that can use to empower them to start their own business and other. Who controls the trust fund? What are the parameters? How much is in the trust fund? Who knows? At any point, this is kind of stuff that whenever they talk about it, I said, why do you as a politician always ask to create a trust fund that only you know how much is inside? Right. Yeah, this is how bribery happens. This is how cheating happens.
Yeah.
Let me say this, because look, I'm not defending bribery and corruption, but I will say that to a certain degree, right? And this is what I've been trying to say about development. to a certain degree, corruption is a way. It may not be the best way. Like if you read Foucault, right? Foucault would say that in Discipline and Punishment, he argues, he says that crime is a form of social, of protesting. That the reason why they are criminals, of course, you may not agree with it, but he says some of what we call crime is a form of protesting against economic injustice. I would slightly argue and push and say that some of what we call corruption is a way to humanize the kind of lack of humanity in the Western system. What do I mean? For example, in the West, if you don't pay your light bill, now, Dynasty, we're American citizens, right? You don't pay your light bill, Con Edison, Georgia Power, what are they gonna do?
Oh, cut it off.
They're gonna cut it off.
Cut it off.
But we're American citizens.
Yes, listen. There's no negotiation.
Nothing, right?
Nothing.
Just cutting it off, right?
Listen, cut it off.
Now think about how inhumane that is. Realistically, though, if we're American citizens, we're part of this so-called American village, we're family and all this stuff. What village would allow their people to have their lights cut off? What village would allow their people to be screwed over like that, or to be in abject poverty, or have your water cut off? So in an African system, the African way of thinking, which I'm not excusing the corruption. Now, Dynasty, when you go to the PHN office or the NEPA office, whether it's now no longer NEPA, you go to the NEPA office and you don't have enough money for that month, you tell Tunaja, look, I beg, help me. Take this, because I don't want my lights cut off. We a family. He don't want your lights cut off. So I'm just saying. I'm gonna tell you something. When I was in Oshobo,
when I was staying with Falajiki, rest in peace, somebody like in his complex, they came to cut off one of his neighbor's lights, and Falajiki came outside and said, "You're not cutting off his lights," and they didn't cut off the lights and they left. Wait, Falajiki is the brother that used to be with you in the videos? Yeah, he passed away last year. Oh man, rest in peace. I didn't know that. Yeah. Like Falajiki literally came outside, talked to the people, but they didn't cut off the lights and they left.
Yeah,
I've
seen. Let me say something. Let me say something about that. I think I've had people say this, and the fact that you saw it, Dinas, is interesting, because I've had relatives talk about how people that want to come and control power wants to come and cut electricity, and they will threaten them and they'll go away. And this is, you see, that is the problem. When you use the example of the American company, why they will cut, why would they be so cruel? Because if they are not so cruel, a lot of people will lose power. No, I didn't say that's why they're so cruel. No. Let me say it again. I said that if we're American citizens and America claims to be a village for its people, because on one hand they say, oh, well, if you need services, you can go down to the government services place. We're here to help you, right, Dinas? That's what the police say: to serve and protect, get the resources. If that's the case, on one hand, you can't tell me that I'm here to help my people, and then I'm gonna cut off your lights. So I'm not saying that people should have a free for all. You're mixing things there. That's not how it works. If you have an agreement, it's a contract that says, I'll supply you electricity, you pay for it, and if you don't pay for it, I'll cut it, because some other person needs electricity that is actually going to pay. Otherwise, I will be out of business and nobody will supply electricity to the next person. So that is every what society have responsibilities. Sorry, let me finish this one. I think this part of responsibility is very, very important. With that, we need to start building a sense of responsibility too, because I feel that sometimes our people, it has been corroded, that there is no responsibility. Systems work better when there's accountability and responsibility taken. And if the people don't want to take responsibility, there are systems to make sure that they cut them off somewhere along the line. You can't allow somebody that, because people, you always have douchebags everywhere. Everybody, even if 100 people want to follow the rule, there's always that one person there that wants to wreck the whole party. And what do you do about that person? That person has to be held accountable. That is how you get a good system working. The way Nigerians are behaving right now, they'll say, I got my own, you get your own, and then the whole system falls apart. They go to church, they pay a lot of money every day to their pastor build bigger churches, they go to their house, they put barriers in their houses, they forget to do it. When you tell them to do it for their country, they'll say, why should I do it for the country? They're corrupt, they are this, they are that. And you are corrupt yourself, you don't pay electricity. The hypocrisy that it goes round and round. That's why I say, if you want to do this, you have to be ultra transparent with Nigerians and let them know that this is where your money is going. And the only people they will trust with any money in Nigeria right now is it's a bank that is worth far more than that. Like Zenith is worth billions upon billions of dollars. So if you put $100 million in the account to pay soldiers, they are not going to run away with it. And Nigerians are going to be able to track the amount that is going out every month. Those type of things, when you do it and you tell people to pay for it, you know why? You know what? They will pay for it because they see the money is not going to individuals. Corruption is not stealing their money. This is, whenever you mention to Nigerians, the government should do anything, first thing they will say is corruption.
Yeah.
You have to solve that problem.
but again, this is what I'm trying to say. I'm not in 1,000,000% dispute with you. You see, what you just said is something that, and that's why I said we have to think first as Africans. Yes, responsibility is key, right? Like in Cross Rivers and Akwa Ibom, one of the things that govern them is Ekpe, right? Which is a traditional way of they used to actually the deity by the stone. There was a stone that they would swear by, and the men had to conduct themselves a certain way. All throughout Africa, we had those things, right? So, but what I am saying, even with that said, because on one hand, what you are pushing is a rationalist, or what the Oibos will call the dead hands of reason. It's this disembedded way of living where it's just business, is nothing personal. It is personal when we put a person out on the streets.
But
we can't say that we can. Hold on, let me finish. I'm almost done. We can't say that we are going to be an African people and we are having homelessness. That didn't exist. So I'm not saying we have to come to a middle ground. There has to be some sort of balance. And unfortunately, it seems like, and it has been, that corruption has been used as the middle ground, often used as a crutch. But we have to come to some sort of balance. We can't just say, okay, well, that's the contract. No, that's not how Africans live. We didn't just let people be homeless and stuff like that. But go
ahead. I think it's important because obviously we need to agree on a direction. When I say we, I'm not talking about us. I'm just saying Africans in general. We need to agree on what direction we want to go. So, do we want to modernize and be at the cutting edge of technology? Do we want to be a prosperous nation? Or do we want to have some semi-rural existence where everyone is happy, but we're really not reckoned with in the world? Sure. I mean, the reality is if we want to modernize, if we want to be a progressive, respectable nation, then we're going to have to do the hard things. And the hard things is if you don't pay your electricity bill, your electricity gets cut off. Every villager has to do his own. He has to carry himself. Now, obviously, there should be a safety net because even cold countries like America and a lot of the West, where it's pure capitalism. I mean, there's still safety nets. You still have Social Security. You still have shelters.
America is not pure capitalist, but go ahead, sir.
Right. But I mean, it's primarily a capitalist society. There's still certain safety nets that are in place. So we could definitely have safety nets in Africa too, more with an African sort of like tinge to it. But for the most
that's
part,
an interesting dynamic that you just created. You just created a very interesting binary. You just gave a division, which I don't think is accurate. You said if we want to be developed, then we have to be like this. If we want to be agrarian, we have to be like this. I think that's why I've said we have to look, because our language is very key to escaping this thing of this colonial matrix of power. Our language, like I always tell people all the time, there are certain words we can't even say in our language. We can't interpret in our language, which tells us a worldview. It gives us a different worldview. Now, how can we bring our worldview and adapt it, as opposed to us adapting their worldview?
I think that, let me just say something. I think you are mixing two things together. You're talking about being this in kind of having a kind of safety net versus the economic and capitalist aspect of the economy. You have to build your capitalist economy that can fund the safety net. That is how generally these systems work. The Chinese, when they were before they got to where they got to, as a matter of fact, not that long ago, barely 10 years ago, there were places where the Chinese people were working there that they had to put nets between buildings because
Yeah,
people
so they
were
didn't
jumping
commit
from
suicide.
roofs. Yeah, exactly. So that is the way, because when sometimes the way you are coming across as if you are misunderstanding where we are. We are in a real mess here, and we don't have room for worrying too much about one.
We're in
Because
a
right
mess
now,
according to what metric?
let me, because you can see it with your eyes. What right now we are basically suffering and dying for nothing. Basically, the only reason you can say we are dying for right now is to just keep the roof off. Let me give you one recent example. Last year, or just late last year, the Nigerian government wanted to do away with the subsidies for fuel. And they say, oh my God, fuel is going to be 500 naira per liter, and all the rest of it. We are going to burn the streets. We are going to do everything. And the Nigerian government backed off, which was a terrible mistake. Now,
Why?
look at what.
Why was that a terrible mistake?
Hold on. That's why. Let me finish. Look at what is happening now. Fuel is $500, 500 naira. I'm paying it right now. And where are those people? Because now it's Ukraine. But when their government wanted to do it and save them money, they refuse to accept it because we don't want to do the hard thing. We think we don't want to understand our predicament.
So I find it interesting that you say that, because look, with the fuel subsidy thing, I always find it interesting that Nigerians do this stuff, and I'm not coming at you. In America here, Dynast, all the school lunches are subsidized from the USDA. Taxpayer money subsidizes this stuff.
Correct.
So I find it interesting, Dynast, that these Nigerians, myself included, even though I don't think I'm a Nigerian, that Nigerians on one hand want capitalism, but we don't understand that there has never been a fully capitalist economy.
Well,
it doesn't exist. It's only on paper. So hold on, let me get back to the fuel subsidy thing. If you're saying that, oh, to remove the fuel subsidy, they shouldn't remove the fuel subsidy, because at the end of the day, they haven't put anything in place to make life easier. If it's the only thing that they subsidize for the average Nigerian, leave the goddamn fuel subsidy in place.
Life is not easier now, but this is not in our control anymore. We see life is not easier now. It's not in our control anymore. It's in the hands of the Russians now. Why? When you can do it yourself, take the pain. There are poor people everywhere.
No, because what about the problem is not Ukraine. If we had our do you think Saudi Arabia cares about what's happening in Ukraine for their citizens? No, Saudi Arabia has refineries that are working.
If the term a lot of ifs, you have to understand. You have to know where you are. Don't use what we had refinery. We don't have it. You have to take what have on the ground.
But don't blame Russia and Ukraine and say that is the reason why we are suffering the pain. The reason why Nigeria's oil is problematic is because we don't have a working refinery.
I'm saying that is the reality on the ground. Why is it that we are willing to accept it? Nigerians are willing to swallow it and not tearing the street up right now, when Russia and Ukraine dictates the fuel price. But when the Nigerian government wants to do it and save us trillions of naira that we can use on our security, on everything else, in a way, it's a form of tax, really. When you think about it, it's a form of tax, because right now, that money, when you take it, you are basically taxing Nigerians to do other things.
Niger, I beg, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you entered a Danfo? I just talked to my cousin. When was the last time you entered a Danfo? Do you know that from ordinary Oshodi just to go to Mile 2 now? Do you know how much they've increased the price? I beg, Tunaja, please wait, Tunaja, please. When you are saying these things, Tunaja, when you guys say these things,
inheritance?
Do you hear what he just said? Are they dead? You see, Danny, this is the problem.
You see your problem. Your problem is
you live in your estate.
You think that this is an easy world you live in.
No, don't say that.
See, have we not been suffering? Hold on, let me finish this point. Let me ask you this question. Have we not been suffering since the 80s? Has Nigeria not been suffering since then? Since when you keep acting as if today's suffering,
which Nigerians, the rich have not been suffering anything. The same people that want
the point. We are already suffering.
No, listen.
Why don't you suffer for something that keeps suffering for nothing?
Sorry, sir. No, that is wrong. The same elite Nigerians. Wait,
suffer for
the same elite Nigerians that are living in their estates and their banana islands paying their estate fees, don't, this is what Fela was saying. They don't enter the downfalls with us. Come and enter the downfalls with us and see. No, wait. Okay, wait, sir, please wait. No, I'm not moving the goalpost. I'm trying to tell you, yes, sir, let me say this. I'm trying to point out to you that the same people that are saying, oh, let's subsidize, it'll be good for the economy. These same people subsidize also. Subsidize your cars, subsidize your travel, subsidize your children going to abroad. And I'm not talking about you personally to Niger. I'm not talking about you to Niger. I'm talking about.
Hold on, guys, hold on, order. We got OB, unmute yourself. Go ahead, OB. I know you've been patiently waiting.
Give me 1 sec, but I just wanted to say, gas them up, man. Don't let your frustration make you create bad ideas and solutions, brother. You sound really frustrated.
Yeah.
You gotta
passionate, definitely not frustrated. I always keep my cool, but go ahead, sir. No, passionate, never frustrated. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if I could just say something, there's obviously a pretty wide gulf between what Gas is saying and to Niger, and you got to figure out how to bridge that gap. Sure, there's nowhere we're ever going to create any type of utopia where everyone is hickory-dory and things get done, everything works properly. We're going to have to pay for progress, and we can either pay on the front end, which is what most developed countries do, or you can pay on the back end, which is what is happening in Nigeria right now, where nothing is in place, no one pays taxes, nothing works properly, and as a consequence, you can't travel from Lagos to Port Harcourt in 3 hours, even though it's less than 300 miles. So you're going to pay one way or the other. It just makes sense to pay on the front end. When you pay on the front end, you know what you're getting. You can plan. When you pay on the back end, your vision becomes blurred. You're so wrapped up in the day-to-day trying to survive. It's a toxic environment. You can't plan, you can't think, you can't innovate. So it makes sense to wish that we could go back to how things were in Africa back in the day. We're 25 million Nigerians at independence. We're over 200 million Nigerians now. So there's just no way to try and fit that mold of how things were. We have to grow with the world. We have to trade with the world. Sure, we could definitely do a better job at collecting taxes and making things work, but we're going to pay whether we like it or not. And it just makes sense to me to pay on the front end, which seems cold and Western, as opposed to paying on the back end, which is what Nigeria is doing right now.
Yeah, but again, what I'm saying is I find it interesting. And personally, I don't have any disagreement with you guys. What I'm saying is I always find it interesting that it's the Nigerians that don't go to where the actual Nigerians who will be complaining. You guys are not there with them. So like I'm saying, wait, let me finish.
My question for you is, do they have the solutions there though? Those people who are making those complaints and those places you're talking about, do they have the
I've been to them and I've spoken to them and I've told them these things that you can't keep running. You know what? One of the key things Nigerians say first thing when you tell them about this, they will say, let the government give us light first, then before we pay. You can't keep expecting things to be done for you all the time. Sooner or later, somebody has to pay for it somewhere. Elites get away with stuff all the time. Complaining about elites in any country is a waste of time. It's almost like a natural formation of any society in life. And if you look at communists, capitalists, all of them show the same trait. So let's not worry about elite because that's a cop-out. What is going on here is that we have money in our pockets. We don't want to even put money together to solve our problems because we keep expecting government to take care of everything for us because government is some kind of magic one waving somebody that is going to do it. We are in a mess. You cannot expect anything. You cannot expect it to be easy. I think you don't even understand the kind of mess we are in. It's so bad.
Okay, you are
even worrying about the fact that you are even worrying about people being thrown outside or not all the rest. Then you don't really appreciate how messed up things are.
You see, this is what I'm trying to say, right? My point is this. However Nigeria chooses to so-called develop, because me personally, I'm not a fan of so-called Nigeria. Nigeria is British real estate, if you ask me personally. It's just British real estate. But okay, we're in Nigeria, we have to so-called make it work. No problem. I find it interesting that all these people that go to abroad, get educated, are the ones that now come back with all these theories. They themselves, just like Awolowo built all those schools that he said never sent his own children to. You guys come up with all these IMF free market ideologies that sound beautiful. And I'm not saying some of them might not work, but you guys are not willing to take your own medicine. I've never seen. Take your own medicine
right
first.
now. What are you talking about? Just told
I'm
you
not
that
talking of
I
you
bought
too,
fuel
Niger.
today.
I'm not talking about you personally. I'm talking about the elite. When these guys in the Senate will come up and say, oh, the fuel subsidy should be removed, they don't have any worry because they have a fuel stipend that's going to be given to them. Now the guy who has to take his child to school, he has to think about the school fees for the primary school and this, and now you're saying remove subsidy. The only thing he's getting from his government, which is fuel subsidy, it's not like he's getting other things. If he was getting other things, sure, no problem. Then you have an argument. The only thing that these people are getting from their government that they can even say is tangible to at least make life easy when goods are being transported, that's something that reflects on an economic scale. When you look at the demand and supply, because of that fuel subsidy, prices are going to be dropping.
Fuel
and if it's going to cost government, let it cost government.
Hold on. Fuel is cheaper in Nigeria than in Saudi Arabia. This is a spoiled people's mentality. How can you expect Nigerians, with the mess we are in, for Nigerian government to be supporting the people for fuel subsidy when even Saudi Arabians are not supporting their people with that kind of money? You have to decide that sooner or later we have to start paying more. We are living in a sub economy in Nigeria.
Start at the top.
Let me explain.
Don't start from the bottom.
Let me explain this to you. Why would if fuel is so cheap in Nigeria, do you know what that means? Any power generation company around the world that has to buy all the equipment from the world on their billions upon billions upon billions of dollars, then they come into Nigeria, they want to generate power in Nigeria and to make money out of it. Guess what? Nigerians pay about 6,000 naira for petrol this in every month for a bedroom house. 6,000 naira. Do you know how much that is? That is barely 15, 20 pounds.
What? In UK they have free they have free healthcare. I mean, the only thing that they're getting from their government is this subsidy, and you guys want to remove it?
You're not understanding. Let me explain to you what is going on there, what you don't pick up from. The equipment those people are buying to create power for you so that they can be able to make profit, and the profit these energy companies make, we're talking about like 5% or even less that they make profit from, and they have to buy expensive equipment to generate 27 power supply to you. But if you pay a rate that is 10-20 times less than what people are paying here, that they make 5% from, what chances have you got that power is going to come to that country? This is you can't live in a sub economy. It's like you are living in a hole. You want people to come there and meet you. You need to rise up.
To Nigeria, see, I'm not fighting you on that on a personal level or on any of those things. You have to understand. You have to meet the people where they are. This conversation that we're having at what we will call an elitist conversation. When we go to the north or we go to parts of the south, those people in the village don't care anything about that.
Right.
So they are not wrong. They are not bad. They are not backward. We need to be more like them. We need to try and adapt to them instead, because what you are saying.
Addressing the point. You are busy addressing the individuals. You are busy talking about me. Talk about whether it's a good idea to be paying 20 times less for almost any supply in Nigeria. Anything that you get anywhere else, you pay 20 times less. All those other countries that are paying higher rates, do you know what that means? It means Nigeria is living in a bubble. It's a bubble.
To Nigeria, those other countries have a what? An effect. I've already told you, every African country is effectively broke. If you remove any foreign purchasing of their resources, almost every African country is effectively broke. Let me give you an example of that type of ingenuity. Recently, I believe in northern Nigeria, they did a deal where they swapped cows for one. I forgot. It was an asset swap, right? Let me use big Oyibo language. These people, instead of using dollars, instead of using naira, instead of using Bitcoin, they just went old school and swapped. I think somebody did something and then they just exchanged the value in cows. right?
Right.
So again,
But
as
wasn't
opposed-
there another
Can I quickly push back on that point that
Well,
Gaston
hold on
made?
one second. I could be wrong, but wasn't there another program where they were swapping in the north, where they're swapping guns for cows or something crazy?
Yeah, well, that's like Boko Haram and all that stuff. You know, that's like Boko Haram. But this was
be
just
wrong.
like pure business. This was purely business, right? So what Two Niger is saying, he's saying, oh, we should pay more and do this. Two Niger, your arguments would make sense if the leaders of Nigeria, who are not part of lodges and secret societies in America, took the right efforts and did the right thing for the Nigerian people. That's not going to happen. No sane Nigerian is going to go along with what you're saying.
Both of you are correct,
see,
but
you are blaming both sides. Like, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, both of you are correct.
Go ahead, Ayo. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, both of you are correct, but you're missing each other's point. So, in the short term, gas them up is 100% correct. There's going to be pain if the subsidy is removed. People aren't going to be able to survive. Food is going to get more expensive. Transportation costs will rise, and that just messes everything up. But in the long term, the country will be able to save a lot more foreign exchange, and in the long term, things will get better. So you both have valid points. One is a short-term benefit, or short-term pain, and one is a long-term benefit. That's the difference. There's pluses and minuses to both of what you're saying, to both points you're trying to make. If you keep the subsidy, sure, no one's going to go through short-term pain, but you have less foreign exchange, and your naira is going to continue become turned into shit. If you remove the subsidies, then there's going to be crazy short-term pain, but in the long term, the naira will appreciate.
So let's put that in historical context. This depreciation of the naira did not start historically, right? All of these things started when IMF structural adjustment programs were put in place. As a matter of fact, if you read the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman, so many the history is there. They even admit this crap themselves.
Right.
This is what spurred the mass exodus, the brain drain, the cognitive flight of Africans leaving en masse, because now their institutions were no longer being catered to and maintained. So this started in the 80s. This is just an 80s phenomenon, because in the 60s and the 70s, the 1 naira was equal to $1, and there was no stress about fuel subsidies. So again, what they're saying sounds like what the same IMF bankers said to us in the 80s. Oh, just remove and deregulate, which Fela said SAP, South African people. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just say something quickly. Did you just hear yourself? You said 1 naira was equivalent to $1. That is the difference. What I'm telling you that you are missing is that now 1 naira is $1 is 600 naira. That is, we are living in a hole. And you have to understand that if you don't try to get yourself out of that hole and say, you know what, other people in the world should be paying a certain amount, the equipment that they use to make those things they are using dollars. They are not using naira. You have to understand the step change that is going on here. And this is why it's almost like, from the point of view of businessmen that want to make money for whatever service they provide, when they look at Nigeria, they look like, okay, I can't make money here, because they created a hole. They created a hole that you can't go in there and make money, because every service is too cheap. And anybody that wants to come and do business in Nigeria will have to be subsidized by the government to be able to do business, because to make profit, you have to charge more, and Nigerians cannot pay for it because everything is priced
Yet
cheaper.
Dangote is worth $19-point-something billion, and it's increasing by the day.
Do you know what Dangote is doing? Dangote doesn't even need Nigeria to make money.
I don't begrudge Dangote. I mean, he's not. I mean, there've been criminals who
do his companies provide services though? Do his companies provide services?
I mean, he's
and if they do, why can't you have that money, man?
The kind of services he's providing are based on raw materials that are in Nigeria already.
Yeah,
so you see, that's the thing. It's already within the country.
Value, and this is the problem that Gasimapu was making, in that all Africa does is export its raw materials, but Dangote is adding value to a raw material, which is where the real profit is. So you can sell, a barrel of unrefined petroleum for maybe now it's $100 because of the whole Ukraine thing, but there was a point in time it got down as low as $18 a barrel.
Actually, 11.
Oh, exactly. But you refine that barrel, you know how much you spend for a barrel of gas. So, you know, it's sure, he's definitely getting benefits from his political connections and whatnot, but he is overall, I think net, he's definitely a benefit to Nigeria. And the fact that he isn't he doesn't seem like a really tribalized Nigeria. He looks at things from a business lens as opposed to a tribal lens, which is the problem with most of the political elites and the ruling class in Nigeria. And hopefully that will pass as you know, the younger generation starts to take over, which has to happen at some point. And these old guys have to die off. But I think Nigeria is moving in the right direction. But it's going to be painful, and we have to exist. We have.
Why does it have to be painful, though? Why do we keep saying that? Why would we keep painting this narrative of it has to be painful? These are what the bankers told us.
Let me tell you something. There was this song. Have you seen?
Let me get that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's painful because if you study history, which you do, and you're a smart brother, there's always dislocation as the economy changes in any society, and we're not a special case. I think we need to stop thinking we're a special case and stop thinking that we can avoid certain things. We have to industrialize. We have to manufacture hugely. We have to create businesses. You will have to pay a lot for certain things at certain points. You'll pay cheaper at other points. It just is what it is. Let's get out of the fantasy and let's just get to work.
Makes sense.
Can you say that in Igbo? Because I'm assuming you're an Igbo man. Please say exactly what you said in Igbo, please.
What ethnic group are you?
No, yeah, where did you say you're from?
What's your ethnic group?
No, I'm asking you a question. You said you're where?
What's your ethnic group?
Everybody knows already. I asked you, sir. Please.
You say you're so proud of it. So what are you?
I mean, so everybody knows already. Please tell me, translate what you just said.
What do you mean everybody knows already?
Everybody knows. I'm an Isoko man first. I'm not Nigerian. I'm an Isoko man. See, but look, listen. Please explain what you just said about it will be painful, the demand and supply, and the way that the economy. This is what we call externalities. Please translate that in your language, please.
Why? What's the point?
I'm not from the East.
You made a really good point, though.
You know why? You know why, Dinas? You know what I'm proving? I'm proving that these conversations of economy.
You think too much about the tribes. That's
I actually know I don't think too much about the tribes,
bro. And you're stuck in the past.
Okay, I'm stuck in the past. Thank you.
You are stuck in the past. Africa is not going to be. It's not going to be what we were back in the day during Edo, during oil. It's not going to be like that.
Okay, that's great.
Let me tell. Now I got the floor. Let me tell the people what it's going to be like. Right. A lot of people are afraid of modernization. Modernization doesn't mean Westernization. You can compare what will happen to Africa if you compare the difference between Japan and the West, Japan and the United States. Japan's a different world than America. They speak a different language. Their culture is different. Their business practices are different. Their policies are different. But just like America, they have roads, they have sewage, they have water, they have skyscrapers, they have planes, people manufacture, they use oil, they have cable lines running through the streets. And that's what will happen in Africa. We'll have African aesthetics, African design, African people owning these businesses, but we're still going to have all of these things in our society.
We had those things in the 60s.
Let me say that. You need to get used to it and get over a lot of these stuff that you're thinking so we can get to work. Because you're such a great speaker and such an intelligent brother, we need you to just mature up, get over this romanticization so we can get to work.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds great. You sound like you guys.
We're gonna start closing out.
Okay, but Dennis, I want to say this quickly for the record.
We'll close out with Niger. Go ahead, Gaston.
Okay, what I want to say for the record is this. Brother Obi, I salute to you, but you sound like Lord Lugard in terms of saying we got to get to work. This is what he said to justify colonizing Nigeria. But I want to say this for all the people from the South, because I see you guys in the chat room. Look, all this talk about the North and Fulani and Hausa, you
only say that for myopic, bro. You're not being mature.
Okay, you're right. I agree. No problem. I agree. But at the end of the day, all you people from the south part of Nigeria that keep talking all this stuff about the northerners, Fulani, and all this stuff. Look, at the end of the day, it's our own girls. It's our own girls that are the ones selling their bodies. It's our own girls doing a show. You understand? Any allergy can come to the south and sleep with our women. You cannot. An Hausa Fulani man in the north, you give his daughter to an Arab before you even give it to you, even with all your money and your education that's from the south. So we South people need to wake up and really stick together and focus on our traditions, just the same way in the north. They handle their business, they handle their traditions, they are not letting go. Even though some of it can be whatever reformed, but we South people, we have a lot of stuff in our own backyard. So please stop complaining about the so-called Fulani and the north. If they are working together, let's work together. Okay, let's work together as South people and fix our own stuff. Let's stop talking junk about the people from the north. But with that said, with that said, the Japanese argument of Africa is not going to work. Why? One, Japan, in order to industrialize, had to colonize a lot of Asia. Whether you guys want to admit it or not.
False.
Oh, let me finish. You close out. I'm done. Japan had to colonize a lot of Asia in order to do that. That is one. Two, after World War II, Japan was given funds by the West in order to redevelop. They were given a naval base. America turned them into an ally economy. And funny enough, the Japanese that we want to follow these people so much. For the last 3 decades, their economy they called it the lost decades. They haven't done anything. So they modernized and they've hit the end of modernity in Japan. It's over for them. They're not there's no innovation, there's nothing there. So if you guys want to copy and be like Japan, go ahead. I pray that the ancestors, I pray the spirits, I pray that the deities prevent all of your modernization from ever coming and we come to a real African development. I pray that the ancestors and all of the deities stop you guys from your development, bringing source and power to Africa. That's my own statement.
Go ahead, Naja. Close
Yeah,
out.
I think this guy is either too young or someday his brain is gonna fall out of his head. Because some of the things he's saying, he thinks
we don't have to insult to Niger. We can be civil. You don't have to insult.
Sorry about that. I think maybe you're right there. I shouldn't have to do that. But point is that you need to pay more attention. You need to listen a bit more than you talk sometimes. And look at the world. Don't even care about what I say. Look at the world. You think anything is easy? Have you seen what is going on in Ukraine? Pain is everywhere. It depends. You have to be purposeful in this life. If you either want to suffer for nothing or you suffer for something. The Japanese have a tradition of harakiri for a reason. They call it accountability. If a man fails, they slit their own tummy by themselves and their head is chopped off. Why didn't they have that kind of culture? And guess what? They gave the Americans so much fighting that the Americans had to literally use 2 nuclear bombs to stop them. They defeated China, a small country like that, because they are determined and they understand and they are one of the most advanced people. And you scoff at them and say, oh, they are advanced and they are like, Nigerians will kill to have what the Japanese have today. If you go to Nigerians and tell them, let your street be like the Japanese street, they will kill you, use it for sacrifice to get it. So don't scoff at something that's accomplished way more than you have. And we are not going to get out of where we are without sacrifice. They said survival comes from sacrifice. I think there was a song recently from a Hollywood movie where they said survival comes from sacrifice. Some people are going to pay. You like it or not, the leaders are going to do the work. They are not going to see their children as well. They're going to see them. When you go to war, do you think soldiers are seeing their children and going to parks and being metrosexual men? There is always sacrifice going on in the world every day. Question is, do you want to do it for a good reason or do you just want to waste time? And when you talk about our people living like as if we are in some kind of Garden of Eden, maybe there was a time it was like that. That innocence is gone.
Yeah, it was never like that, though. I mean, there have been wars.
Exactly. That innocence is gone.
100-year Yoruba war was before the white man even smelled Africa. So
100 years. You see that
everywhere. We
have to be prepared because I see it every day. Nigerians are not ready to make this necessary sacrifice to get something, and sometimes the sacrifice is even little compared to what is asked from other people. Russia lost 28 million people in one war. What is wrong with our people? We keep expecting things to be easy.
So 28 million Nigerians should die, should be?
No,
Hey, no,
I'm saying
we
that
got to listen. We can do a part two. We can do a part two, but we'll go ahead and close out, guys.
yeah,
Everyone, thank
I
you so much
think
for joining.
this battle is gonna go on for
Yeah, exactly. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, peace.
Thank you.
Bye.